A honeymoon, it's supposed to be this incredible start to a new life, right? But what happens when that dream trip turns into an absolute nightmare? For one couple, that's exactly what happened. Their story isn't one of love, but of betrayal and murder. So let's get right into this really tragic and honestly baffling case.
So that's the big question here, isn't it? How does something so perfect, a dream honeymoon, end up as a crime scene? We're going to follow the police as they try to figure this out, piecing together all the clues to see how a trip to celebrate a new marriage could end so tragically in a remote gorge.
All right, so let's set the scene. It all starts with a couple who just vanishes on their honeymoon. We're talking about Raja Raghuvanshi. He was 29 and a transporter from Indore, and his brand new wife, a 25-year-old named Sonam. And things happened fast. I mean, really fast. They get married on May 11th. Just 9 days after that, they're off on their honeymoon to Northeast India. But then, only 3 days into the trip, on May 23rd, poof, they're gone. They just vanish. And this is where it gets so incredibly tragic. I mean, you have to picture where they were, Meghalaya. It's one of the most stunning, romantic places you can imagine. We're talking lush green hills, these amazing living root bridges, gorgeous waterfalls. It's literally the perfect honeymoon spot, which, of course, just makes what happened next all the more horrifying. So they're missing, and for days, the search is on. You can just imagine the families just waiting, hoping for any news. That hope slowly turns into this awful, agonizing wait. And when the news finally did break, well, it was the worst news imaginable. June 2nd, that's the date. For 10 long, brutal days, everyone searched. And then, on that day, they found something devastating. Raja's body was discovered, and not at some scenic viewpoint. No, he was found deep inside a gorge right near one of those waterfalls. And just like that, the honeymoon was over. This wasn't a missing persons case anymore. It was about to become a full-blown murder investigation. The autopsy results left no room for doubt. I mean, none at all. There were 2 really nasty wounds to his head, one in the front, one in the back. This made it crystal clear. Raja's death wasn't some terrible accident while trekking. This was a homicide. He was murdered. So, okay, now we know it's murder. The investigation kicks into high gear immediately. And you know who the police want to talk to first, right? The only other person who was right there with him. His wife, Sonam. So let's walk through how the police handled this. First, they start retracing the couple's every move. But when they sit down and start questioning Sonam, her story starts to have holes. Weird details, things that just don't add up. And pretty quickly, the investigators' thinking starts to shift, from looking at Sonam as a grieving widow to looking at her as a prime suspect. And here it is, the first huge red flag that really got the police suspicious. They actually called it the Mangosutра clue. You have to ask yourself, why on earth would a brand new bride, on her honeymoon of all places, leave behind the single most sacred symbol of her marriage? Now, to really get why this was such a big deal, you have to understand what a Mangosutра is. It's not just a piece of jewelry. It's the sacred necklace in a Hindu wedding that symbolizes the marriage. The wife wears it for her husband's long life and well-being. So for her to take it off and leave it behind, especially on her honeymoon, that's not just weird, it's a massive statement. It's almost like a rejection of the marriage itself, which is not what you'd expect from a grieving wife. But wait, there's more. The clues kept piling up. The police started looking back at the very beginning of the trip, and they zeroed in on how insistent Sonam was about visiting one particular temple in Guwahati. What at first just looked like a normal spiritual stop was now looking like it could have been part of a very carefully planned plot. So as the investigators keep digging, this picture starts to emerge. And it's not a picture of a terrible accident. It's a picture of a cold, calculated plan. And, as they soon discovered, it was a plan that allegedly involved a lot more people than just Sonam. Pretty soon, the investigation blew wide open. Suddenly, there's this whole network of alleged co-conspirators. Police believe Sonam was right at the center of it all. But she wasn't alone. They identified an alleged lover, Raj Kushwaha, and 3 other guys who they think were the accomplices, the ones who helped make it all happen. Okay, so why? What's the motive? Right now, there are 2 totally different theories on the table. The police theory is pretty straightforward. It's a love triangle. They think Sonam was forced to marry Raja and that she plotted to kill him so she could be with her real love, Raj. But Raj's family, They have a much, much darker theory. They're alleging Sonam was involved in black magic, and that this murder might have had some kind of ritualistic element to it.
4. Just think about that number, because this might be the most chilling detail to come out of this entire police investigation.
What does 4 mean? Well, police allege that the murder at the waterfall, that wasn't their first attempt, not even the second or third. They believe it was the 4th attempt, that this was a persistent plot. They think there were 3 other failed attempts to kill Raja, in Guwahati and Nongriat, before they finally succeeded. The details are just awful, but this case has really struck a nerve, you know? It's grabbed national attention. So let's take a second and unpack why. Why is this story so incredibly chilling to so many people?
Well, it seems to be this perfect storm of disturbing elements. First, you've got the ultimate betrayal, right? A spouse allegedly killing their partner on their honeymoon. Then there's that jarring contrast, this beautiful, romantic place turned into a horrific crime scene. And on top of all that, the whole thing is just so dramatic. A plot that crosses state lines, trekking, an abandoned scooter, a body in a remote gorge. It's just unbelievable. So, where are we with all this right now? Well, Sonam and 3 of the alleged accomplices are currently in custody. There's a special investigation team on it, and they are painstakingly combing through everything, all the forensic evidence, all the digital evidence, to build a rock-solid case. Look, this case is a long way from being over. There are still so many unanswered questions. But as it all plays out in the courts, it really makes you think about something pretty uncomfortable. In a story that's supposed to be about a promise to spend a life together, what happens when that promise is broken? In this case, it seems the price for that broken promise was a life itself.